Chapter 2237 Mumbling. Brian was indeed very fast, but the closer he was to her, the easier it was for her to catch his movements. Because no matter how fast the body is, can it be faster than the eyes? The moment she saw Brian with her naked eyes, her mind was activated, and she directly flung Brian away. And it uses Brian's own power. Bing Lihuan's ability is actually not good at attacking, she is an expert in defense. With her ability, she can defend an area and even withstand the continuous attacks of 5 aliens of the same level at the same time. This is why she needs to guard the military headquarters. So, at this moment, Bing Lihuan wished that Brian's attack would be even more crazy. Because the opponent's power will be used by her and transferred to the enemy itself. Woof 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 woof. Brian was barking and running around aimlessly. He finally found an opportunity to attack. Super heavy pressure. It directly applied tens of thousands of times the gravity to Bing Lihuan in one breath. Bing Lihuan had already prepared for this, so he used a mental barrier to block the attack. But after a moment, Brian's eyes fixed. Weightlessness. The gravity applied to the space around Bing Lihuan suddenly became almost zero. Bing Lihuan only felt her body lighten, and she flew up into the sky uncontrollably. There was finally a ripple in her eyes, and she understood the other party's purpose. Brian wanted to use the field that constantly caused gravity chaos to make Bing Lihuan unable to maintain the stability of her body, thus revealing her flaws. And this time, Brian succeeded. Bing Lihuan's body almost lost its balance and tilted about 30 degrees backwards. Professor Da Vinci immediately pulled out his gun and pointed it at her back, firing a powerful high-energy particle ray. Boom! The toy gun doesn't look that big, but it can shoot out thick beams with extremely destructive power. Bing Lihuan gritted her teeth, quickly stabilized her body, then turned her head to look at Professor Da Vinci and the ray attack. The ray flew less than half the distance before being bounced back intact. Fortunately, Brian was prepared this time and was not hit. Instead, he ran quickly in the air on all 4 legs and avoided the attack. Professor Da Vinci's brain was working rapidly. By knowing the distance the ray just flew, you can basically judge the opponent's reaction speed. In other words, as long as we create an attack beyond her calculation range, her vector reversal will be impossible. Brian, let's keep going. Don't let her head cool down, and keep overheating her. Woof woof woof. What else could Brian say? He wanted to throw the dog owner over there along with the female lizard man and press them deep into the earth. It ran faster and faster, launching gravity attacks around Bing Lihuan continuously. It is very difficult to cause direct damage, but it also causes great trouble to Bing Lihuan. Professor Da Vinci was observing her reaction all the time, and his brain was working at high speed, solving extremely complicated math problems. In fact, Bing Lihuan is also having a headache now. She needs to adjust the parameters of arrow reversal from time to time, because what Brian imposed on her was a change in the gravity of the field properties. If you are not careful, the parameters will be wrong. Then Brian's super weightlessness might be turned into super weight by her and become a burden on her. Her information was now completely complete, and she herself knew it very well. So she started to panic. Because she didn't know who the sinister-looking old man on the back of the dog in front of her was. What exactly are its capabilities? Unknown things always give people the greatest fear. Bing Lihuan had to divert some of his attention to observe Professor Da Vinci. But from beginning to end, Professor Da Vinci didn't take any serious action. He just fired a few shots, which was nothing special. And the more talented they are, the more terrifying they are. If they don't make a move, it's fine, but once they do, it could be a fatal move. Boom! Bing Lihuan felt irritated, and a violent storm of her, mumbling, attacked the man and the dog. But Brian was really ruthless. He took all the damage she inflicted, not letting Da Vinci suffer at all. It actually knew that even though Leonardo da Vinci was wearing a high-tech, transparent battlesuit. However, in front of a bishop-level mind master, there is still a risk of being killed instantly. The two of them often ridicule, mock, and even curse each other. But the bond between the two is stronger than anything else. Da Vinci seemed to be blind to Brian's injury. While thinking, he even had time to take out his smart device from his pocket and started doing math problems. Well, first this, then this, and finally that. Yeah, now we have almost all the data. He kept nodding. Brian yelled, "Hey, are you even capable of this? I've been getting beaten up for ages. Should we retreat? Her abilities are too powerful. I can't break through them." "Wait a moment, I'll adjust the parameters," Da Vinci said nonchalantly, not paying any attention to the mental storm that was constantly attacking him, and reached out to open the casing of the pistol. That's right. On the surface, it looks like a fancy toy for children, but when you open the outer shell, you'll find a small computer inside. Professor Da Vinci's eyes became serious, and he began to input complex parameters. Bing Lihuan's attack continued. In order to kill Professor Da Vinci and Brian as soon as possible, she began to increase the intensity of her attack. She had a vague feeling of uneasiness, which became stronger and stronger in her heart. This is the military headquarters. Why would the enemy appear here instead of the Imperial Palace 50 kilometers away? Perhaps the enemies are not just the man and dog in front of us. There are more and more terrifying enemies who have arrived near the palace. Her brows were tightly furrowed, and waves of mental storms swept out. Brian's power could hardly reach her, and this tight defense made people feel desperate. Under the confrontation between the two sides, Brian gradually became overwhelmed. Although its defense is strong, its body will not be destroyed after repeated and intensive destruction. "Oh, for God's sake, are you all right?" Brian howled in pain and dodged Bing Lihuan's attack in midair in a very awkward manner. "All right." Professor Da Vinci responded to Brian very briefly. He raised the toy-like pistol with both hands, his face solemn, like a sniper with an important mission. "Leave it to me from now on." Chapter 2238 Insufficient Computing Power. Brian could only pray that what Professor Da Vinci said was true. Professor Da Vinci asked Brian to slow down, then raised his pistol and pointed it at Bing Lihuan in the distance. Bing Lihuan did not ignore the old man, but when she saw that he just raised a small pistol, she was very surprised what he wanted to do. Because if it is just a physical or energy attack, it will all be bounced back by her ability. It is difficult for forces other than the law of cause and effect to have any effect on her. Leonardo da Vinci said nothing and silently pulled the trigger. Boom! A beam of pitch-black light instantly shot towards Bing Lihuan. To be exact, it was a colorful black. It was obviously black, but it was like some rainbow jelly beans sprinkled in a jar, with dotted mottled light. This force instantly crossed half the distance between the two of them. Bing Lihuan did not hesitate at all. Brilliant white light bloomed in her eyes, and her long hair flew and spun behind her like a windmill. But just as she was about to use the power of the arrow's reversal again to change the trajectory of the attack and make it shoot towards Professor Da Vinci himself, suddenly, her eyes widened and her eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. How so? For the first time, a wave of fear appeared in her heart. Because within her field of vision, it was not a simple energy ray attack at all. It is a collection of tens of thousands of different energy bodies. Although she has a smart brain, it is not enough for her to calculate the trajectories of all attacks and deviate their vector directions in a short period of time. In a hurry, Bing Lihuan could only activate the energy of arrow counter first. Then, this force instantly exploded violently on the spot like fireworks. A torrent of black energy exploded in midair, rushing in all directions. And dozens of the rays still headed straight for Bing Lihuan. Bing Lihuan felt a little pain in her head, but she quickly used her ability again to deflect the attacks. Brian's eyes widened. "As expected of you, Lao Deng. It works." Professor Da Vinci's mouth sank. "Where did you learn such nonsense?" "I've been learning foreign languages recently." This is the respectful title used by the Huashu people to address their elders. When Professor Da Vinci saw Brian's mean expression, he knew that it was definitely not a good thing to say. But now he was too lazy to argue. "My experiment was successful." He continued to adjust the parameters of the compound gun in his hand. "If you want to precisely control the vectors and achieve your ideal state, You must clearly calculate the various parameters of each vector. So, I added 100 vector cannons to the compound gun. This allows me to simultaneously fire energy beams of different properties, including electromagnetic cannons, plasma streams, and mixed gravitational wave jets. The vector parameters of each attack change randomly at a nanosecond frequency. As expected, her brain couldn't grasp this complex calculation, causing the vector offset to become uncontrollable. Professor Da Vinci adjusted the parameters of the pistol and muttered in his heart, "Not to mention her. Even if I want to complete the calculation in such a short time, I must rely on the brain in a tank in the experimental base to complete it." But now, it doesn't matter, because he found the flaw of arrow counter. The ability is very perfect, but the person with the ability is not perfect, and her brain capacity is limited. Brian, keep attacking. This time we'll attack simultaneously. You'll use the rapid changes in the gravity field to disrupt her, and then I'll attack her head-on. Professor Da Vinci raised his pistol and handsomely aimed at Bingley Huan in the distance. "Okay, I'll take the lead and you'll assist from the side." Brian happily agreed. It bared its fangs and had been beaten for a long time. Now it wanted to fight back. Bingley Huan rubbed her head with one hand, feeling the howling wind around her in disbelief. It was not easy for her to catch Brian's position when he was moving at high speed, which finally made her feel the danger. The other party's strength was beyond her imagination. This was not strength in terms of supernatural powers, but strength in terms of brains. Wake up. Even if I can't perfectly control the vector, deflecting the energy shot towards me can at least ensure my own safety. Bingley Huan quickly thought of a strategy to deal with the situation. Then, Brian and Professor Da Vinci's attacks arrived almost at the same time. The gravitational field is changing wildly, and Bingley Huan must find a way to deal with it. Otherwise, the imbalance of the body will affect the brain's reaction. She took it very seriously. But this time, the situation changed again. Because she suddenly discovered that the gravity affecting her body no longer came from the Earth. Instead, it originates from the upper left side of its body. There, a larger gravitational field appeared. Brian can affect the gravitational field, which can change the effects of forces within a certain area. But why do people always think that changes in gravity must come from the center of the Earth? The one who created the field. No, the dog, it was this one. Then it can also create a special field in the direction non-geocentric. The huge gravitational force coming from the front and side had an unexpected impact on Bingley Huan, and she was almost pulled over by her hair by the force. Although it was only for a moment, she used the thick mental barrier to isolate herself from the influence of external forces. But Professor Da Vinci's attack has also arrived. Damn it, we have to defend immediately. As long as we can completely deflect his attack, everything will be fine. Bingley Huan opened his hands, and a storm of mental power quickly condensed in his palms, about to deflect Professor Da Vinci's attack. But this time, without her vector shift, she saw that the attack fired by Professor Da Vinci had no pattern at all. One vector cannon after another, colorful black energy rays, each containing a large number of energy beams of different energy levels, was like a huge net, woven extremely poorly, with no pattern at all, as if it was randomly inserted. Just like that, it shot towards Bingley Huan. Bingley Huan's pupils suddenly shrank, because what was reflected in her mind was an attack with completely different vector values in the millions. There is no pattern to them. Even if Bingley Huan uses the arrow's reflection to interfere, without precise calculation, they will only splash in any possible direction in an irregular manner. Then, among the millions of energy beams, a part will definitely be shot towards her direction. Staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.